Well, hello everyone, and welcome to our very first Hello Moxie inaugural live mentorship Q&A. Woohoo, we're doing this. I'm so excited to be joined today by several of our Moxie mentors. And for those of you joining us, we're so glad you're here. We can't wait to hear your questions and to help you get unstuck with whatever challenges that you're struggling with. And just to give you a little bit of background on Hello Moxie, we are a mentorship and leadership development startup. And our mission is to help women in underrepresented industries lead with Moxie and find confidence and courage and develop into transformational leaders. And so we're glad you're here today. Can't wait to hear how we can help you. And I am joined today by three amazing women I just adore that are part of our very first flagship mentorship cohort, which is launching next month in November. They'll be providing one-on-one mentorship for several lucky women who are going to be joining that program. And I'm going to introduce them now. First, we have the amazing Beth Shiro, who is the co-founder of Shiro Commerce, an award-winning e-commerce agency that helps brands grow and scale through innovative digital solutions. She has a strong background in leadership and business development and software engineering, and she's played a key role in building Shiro Commerce into a trusted partner for mid-size and enterprise businesses worldwide. And she's also an amazing mom, too, which is probably the most important part of this. And then I'm also joined by the amazing Antoinette Quapatera. She is a software engineering manager at Hanes and a certified Adobe Commerce architect with deep expertise in online sales, marketing, and e-commerce. And she brings a strong track record in leading teams and delivering innovative multi-channel commerce solutions. And last but certainly not least is Diana Huff, who is the founder and president of Huff Industrial Marketing. And she leads her agency's website and marketing initiatives, guiding strategy, content, and creative direction. And she is like the GOAT. She's a recognized early expert in SEO and copywriting, and she's spent decades shaping the evolution of digital marketing. So, welcome, ladies. I'm so glad to have you on our panel today. Before we get started, I have to ask you guys all just a fun question. Okay. So, I'm going to throw you a fun one. I want to know from each of you, what is your walk-up song? What is like your go-to song when you really need some confidence and a boost and a pep? What would you listen to? Let's start with you, Beth.
Ooh, good question. Well, I think it's Unstoppable by Sia because I like to think I'm
Yes,
unstoppable, you know?
are. Love that. I love that question, or I love that song. Awesome.
Yeah.
And what about you, Diana? What's your walk-up song?
While My Guitar Gently Weeps,
Ooh,
the version with Prince when did you ever see that? The Rock
no.
and Roll Hall of Fame. Go watch it. He makes the guitar do things and he's not even touching it. And I watch that and I think that's what I want to be. I want to be Prince.
Who doesn't want to be
In terms
friends?
of marketing, I want to be the Prince of marketing.
I love
And
that.
you are lovely. Very cool. All right, Antoinette, it's your turn. What's your walk-up song?
One of my favorite songs is Queen Bee by Taj Mahal. He is a blues guitarist,
Cool.
and one of my favorite musicians of all time.
I'm gonna have to look that one up. That one I do not know. My
I
walk-up song is so
love blues, so.
very cool. My walk-up song is so cheesy, but so me. It's Defying Gravity from Wicked.
Mm,
So
it's beautiful.
I love that song. Every time I listen to it, I feel like I'm unstoppable. So well, very good. Well, thank you, ladies. So to kick things off, thank you again for joining us, everyone. Here's how this is going to go. We really want to maintain your confidentiality so that you feel safe to ask any questions. Our goal in creating this is really based on our own experience of having so many challenges and not really feeling like we had anywhere to go to ask some of these questions. And so we want this to be really safe for you. So please submit any questions you have in the Q&A section of the chat. You will have the option there to choose to send your question anonymously. We are going to answer questions in the order that they're received. And we would love to get comments in the chat. So everyone listening, we'd love to just light up the chat and tell us what what you're excited about. And as you're hearing some of these responses, please feel free to chime in the chat with any thoughts, comments, or questions. And with that, the way it's going to go is when we get the questions, I will ask one of our mentors to answer, and then I will open it up to our entire panel to chime in if they have any other follow-up insight and feedback that they want to give. So with that, all right, let's get this party started. The time is now for you to go ahead and type all your questions in the Q&A. We are waiting with bated breath to hear them, to see how we can help you. So let's do it. Oh my gosh, look at the chat lighting up already. This is amazing. Okay, here we go. Our first question of the day. I'm going to read it out loud. How do you set boundaries without guilt, especially when your team needs you? I'm going to direct this one to Beth. Beth, how do you set boundaries without guilt, especially when your team needs you?
Yeah, so I would definitely say that in the beginning of my career, I would definitely be that person that felt very uncomfortable with, direct conversations and setting boundaries. I was very much a people pleaser. I would like to summarize it. Um, so I think like as I've learned and grown throughout the years, the mantra or the saying I say in my head is to be clear is to be kind.
Mm.
So I'm only doing myself a disservice and the people around me if I am not clear and setting boundaries, which is very hard to practice if it's uncomfortable at first, but it's so liberating once you get better at it. And it gives you the opportunity to pause and like focus on things more clearly, and also empowers the people around you to take more ownership of things. So I think it's a win-win if you can do it properly. And it just takes practice. So be patient with yourself, I guess is what I would say.
I love that, being patient with yourself. Do you have an example of a time where you recently where you've had to set a boundary, and what did that look like in practice?
Um, yeah, so I think my calendar gets really full, right? So like instead of being like, oh, I just don't have time for you, proposing it in a way like I want to make sure the time I have with you is valuable and important and productive. So let's minimize the amount of times and make sure we're super focused during that time so that we all get time back. And then everyone's like, oh, thank goodness. I'm so busy myself. So like I have time to organize my thoughts and we can sit down and like really hyper focus. And then anything that's like just a reporting or update can just be done through Slack. But like the decisions and discussions and strategy can be done in the meeting and everyone just feels so much better about that. So like just I guess trimming down my calendar and not making people feel, why doesn't she want to talk to me? Or like, what's going on? Why am I not as important anymore? That kind of chatter that could happen is a good boundary for me personally because it's really hard to feel productive when you're in back-to-back meetings. And I know a lot of us feel this at different points. So just really being strict about your time in meetings, and that they're productive and you're contributing to the meeting. Otherwise, you probably don't need to be there and other people can own it for you and report to you. So that
Mm.
gives a good example.
Beautiful example. I loved what you shared about how you said, I want to be able to give you the most time that I can possible. Like you're really showing the person on the other end that this isn't just about me, it's about you too. And I want to
Yes.
work for you in the best way possible so that it's a win-win for everyone. It's not just like, no, I'm sorry, I can't help you. It's, I really want to help you. And this is going to, this structure, whatever that may be, is going to help me do that really, really well. So
Yep.
that's beautiful. Our other Moxie mentors, thank you so much, Beth. That was wonderful. Do our other Moxie mentors have anything else you'd like to add, or any other insights or maybe examples or practical tips that have helped you? All right, very good. We'll move on to the next question then. Dun dun dun. Here we go. All right, next up. Oh, we've got so many good questions. You guys, this is awesome. Okay. Next question is, what silent norms shape who gets ahead? And how did you come to realize that you weren't taught them? Wow, that's a great question. I'm going to direct this one to Antoinette. Antoinette, what silent norms shape who gets ahead, and how did you come to realize that you weren't taught them?
Yeah, so I feel like a lot of times, we talk about saying the quiet part out loud. And a lot of, silent norms aren't said because it would be most of the time inappropriate to say it. Um, and so, for example, I think, and sometimes they are said out loud. I remember in a conversation with a coworker, she had gone to HR, she'd recently had a baby, and gone to HR and explained that she would need to take some extra time off throughout the day for the first few months so that she could, make arrangements for childcare for her infant. And the HR person said, well, it sounds like to me you're going to have to choose. Do you want to be a mom or do you want to have a career? And so, I think there is that silent norm, especially as women, that we may be expected to put caring for others ahead of our own advancement needs.
Mhm.
And the person I'm talking about, she was really talented. She was head of marketing. So she wasn't just new in her career and didn't know what was going on. She was really talented, and the organization really needed her involvement. Um, so, like, I think that's an example of a silent norm that sometimes gets said out loud, and it sounds really awful when it's said out loud. So that's why people don't say it, but it doesn't mean that they're not thinking it. I think the second part of the question is like, why weren't we told these things? Well, we were told these things. Now we might choose to disbelieve and say, well, I know I can do both, right? I can take care of myself and I can take care of other people. And I don't have to always prioritize the well-being of every single person on the planet above my own, right? I have value to myself, and I can act as if I have value to myself.
Mm.
But then, like, what is my reaction to that? My reaction to that is say it out loud. Say it out loud to myself, and then I hear how ugly it sounds. Try to get the other person to say it out loud. Let them hear how ugly it sounds. Most people are, good people. They have a conscience. Most people want to do the right thing. And I think if they, and some people are acting in bad faith, and those people talk about that at another time. But for people who are acting in bad faith, if they say it out loud, and if they hear how ugly it sounds, and if you can have a conversation to address it directly, then you, I think, can be able to move past it. And the question becomes like, how do we have those challenging conversations about saying the quiet part out loud? I think that's a process that you kind of learn and you figure out what works for you over time.
Yeah, very good. I mean, that was actually my next question is especially if there's a power dynamic, right? Like if the silent norms are believed or unspoken by someone who's your boss or in a position of authority, how would you recommend, and I'll open this up to the entire panel, how would you recommend handling those situations if there's a power dynamic at play and it's not a peer-to-peer situation?
Mhm. So I'll start out first, but then I definitely would encourage everybody else to speak. So I work for a relatively large organization. And, anytime you work for a large organization, there's lots of power dynamics. There are power
Mhm.
dynamics for people who report to you, because I have certain things in a manager that I might think, but I can't say, right? I have my quiet parts. Um, and then there are power dynamics with your peers who may be on other teams. And then there are power dynamics with people you report to. And then sometimes you talk about like managing up, right? Like sometimes I think of myself, right? The people who report to me or people who report to those people, I'm their manager. I'm responsible for taking care of them. And I'm really lucky. I have a great boss. He's super supportive, and he absolutely is the kind of leader that will open the door for you, but let you go in first. So he's constantly creating opportunities to put the people who report for him in a spotlight so you can look great. But you don't always have that kind of manager. It's a privilege to be able to work with great people. And then you have to think about like, what are my managing up tactics? What can I do in the same way for the people who might report to you that you manage and take care of them and kind of shape them? How do I shape the relationship with this person? If they are truly toxic, and acting in bad faith, my recommendation is to leave. I know it sounds horrible and it's not easy to do. It's really challenging. And there are ways that you can build an exit strategy. But I would say that if you are planted in a place where you cannot grow, once you've identified that, start looking for other ways that you can grow. But if they're acting in good faith, sometimes just having that conversation openly can help you get past it. So that's, you kind of have to decide, is this person acting in bad faith, or are they acting in good faith and maybe just, it needs to be a discussion.
Mm, so good. I love that specific call out to really being able to identify sometimes you are in a toxic situation and it isn't in your best interest to stay in that situation, and having the discernment to be able to recognize that. Um, I would love to open it up to Diana and Beth to see if you have any thoughts on that specifically, or any
Yeah.
thoughts on this. Yeah, Diana, please.
Uh, the reason I reacted to your story was because that happened to me 28 years ago. I was told by my boss that I had to choose between work or my son, who was not even a year old yet. And it was a very scary situation. And that's why I have my business now. I quit. And the other thing that was, and I'm shocked to hear that it's still being said today. I thought I was from the old days. Those were the old days. I was told when he was 6 months old, I had to travel. I was still breastfeeding, and I was in airports pumping milk. And I'm almost going to cry now. I keep hoping it's changed, but I guess it hasn't.
Mm, yeah. No, it's still pretty common, I think. Yeah. Man. Mm. Well, I think this is really great advice for really being able to have the courage, Diana, like you did, to recognize that this wasn't going to be a good fit for you, and that your health and the health of your family was much more important than the job. And I think as women, that's really important and critical that we take care of ourselves first and our needs first and foremost, and that there will be other opportunities that you can create for yourself like you did, and to look at it with a really like open mind to say, well, this isn't the only thing. There are other options out there for me. Yeah. Very cool. My gosh, amazing. Oh, you guys are asking some good questions. Thank you. All right. So the next question on our list is, how do you draw boundaries with a boss that is too micromanaging? Mm. Ooh, this is a good one. How do you draw boundaries with the boss that is too micromanaging? Antoinette, I'm going to turn this one to you, my friend.
Okay, so I have been there. And, again, part of it is, and Diane, your story is so inspirational to me to hear, like,
Thank you.
if you don't get a seat at the table, you can drag a chair up, and fight your way, or even just build your own table. And then you get to decide who gets a seat at your table. So, keep in mind that's always a strategy. But if you have a boss that's super micromanaging, sometimes it's about managing up, figuring out like why. Is this a person like in their personality? This is a control freak. They're not micromanaging you, they're micromanaging everybody and everything. They aren't setting boundaries, they are creating rules for the entire planet. And they are expecting the whole planet to abide by these rules. And they're constantly frustrated and they're angry because nobody will follow their rules. So if it's someone like that, then this is a personality trait. And understand that there's nothing you can do that's going to change it. You have to decide if you want to live with it or not. But you can respond to that. And you can talk about, okay, so what are the rules? And try to get them to articulate the rules. And then communicate with that person in writing and say, this is what I hear you saying. Are we on the same page here? And then talk to them. If you have a plan that forms in your mind as to how you are going to try to, sort of comply with their rules or live up to the vision, talk to them about that in detail. Document everything that is said. Send them the information in writing. And when you hit your marks on there, be sure to remind them. Remember, you told me that you wanted, every paragraph indented exactly 3 spaces, and you wanted all of the sentences to have at least 12 to 15 words in them. And then highlight paragraphs indented 3 spaces, sentences with, so that they can see you're following their rules. They aren't going to change. They will not have less rules, but you can take some of their anxiety out of the relationship. And then, of course, you have to
Wow.
decide if you like to abide by these million rules or not. And then, of course, there's other reasons why someone's micromanaging. Maybe there's a trust issue, but really it's about looking at the reason for their behavior and seeing if you can, respond to the reason for it, not just the behavior you're observing.
Antoinette, where were you 20 years ago when I had a boss micromanaging me and I didn't know how to deal with it? That was so
Where
long.
was I 20 years ago when I had that boss, right? These are things I've learned the hard way.
Yes. Oh, that's such wonderful advice. Yes, Beth, please.
I have something to add to this. Well said, Antoinette, beautifully said. I've actually been on the other end of this as the manager slash boss, where I've been told I'm micromanaging. Um, and I like had to pause for a minute myself. And some of us are managers that are probably on here, and I never had that intention of micromanaging someone. So I just want to name this. It could
Yeah.
happen to you, and you're doing it unintentionally as well. But what I learned from that is like observing what I was doing that was putting that out there. Basically, I think Antoinette, you said it, like it was a trust issue for me. As an entrepreneur, I've built my business and like like had a hand on everything. And as I grew out of the, in the weeds, working on the business to leading it, I struggled at certain points and had to name that for people like, okay, I'm gonna need updates because I'm uncomfortable from a past thing that happened in my business and I just need visibility. It may feel like I'm trying to micromanage you, but I'm really trying to create visibility. So like I understand what's going on so I don't like make assumptions or create a narrative. And so we're aligned. But in some scenarios that can feel like I'm trying to micromanage when I'm really just trying to understand what's going on. And it just took me a while to like figure out that because I have no intention, never wanted to micromanage anyone, you
Mm.
know? So it was like kind of a give and take of like, you're putting this out there, you need to stop. And I'm like, whoa, I never wanted to put that out there, you know?
Yes.
So just saying if you experience it on the other end too, like you kind of need to pause and see and change what you're doing. Or Antoinette, I love that you were like, you need to document and tell people because they may not even realize their behavior is affecting you in that way.
Mm.
I don't know. That's just one of my experiences with this situation as the boss.
Oh my gosh, I love that we're talking about both sides of the coin here, which is so cool. And Beth, I think what I loved about your response is that you were vulnerable and you were showing the person the bigger picture of what was going on. And so
Yes.
I think as whether you're a direct report or whether you're a manager, it's important to have those conversations. If you feel like your boss is micromanaging you, you can say to them like, when this happens, I feel that you don't trust me. And I don't
Yes.
believe that that's true. Help me understand. Help me
Exactly.
understand what's
Yeah.
going on. And then when as a direct report, when you can hear the bigger picture and that you're leading with vulnerability, which invites your manager to start leading with vulnerability to say like, well, actually, this is what's happened to me in the past, and this is why I act this way. And then both of you have developed this really authentic connection where you've got this greater understanding of the bigger
Yes.
things at play than just, this person, that kind of situation. So I think such an important, very important question and such great responses, Antoinette and Beth. I love it. So great. Diana, did you have anything that you wanted to add?
Oh, no, I haven't been in corporate, well, for 27 years, but I have had clients micromanage how I write. And two instances that come to mind, one client, we only worked on one small project because I said, I'm out of here. He wanted me to not use any to be verbs.
Very specific.
And then another one took my copy, which I had slaved over, and ran it by his daughter, who was getting her English degree in college. And she removed all the contractions.
Wow.
because, academic writing doesn't use contractions.
No.
Anyway, that's what I deal with.
Yeah, but I think it highlights that this is just a very common thing. It's very,
Yes.
very common. And so it's important that we have strategies on how to address it when it comes up that we can work through.
Yeah,
Oh,
and in terms of that, I mean, what I learned to do rather than getting upset is just find, rules or authorities that I could cite saying, we're doing marketing writing and therefore contractions are okay. And it's okay to start a sentence with and or but or, whatever. And some people would, okay, all right, you're right. And other people would just, no, no, I'm like, okay. And then, when you work for yourself, either you can keep the client or not.
mhm. Mm, so true. I think the invitation here is like you always have a choice. You're never stuck. There's always a solution. And like there's never you don't ever have to feel like you're just trapped somewhere. There's always a way forward, whatever you that way may be. Oh, so good. Okay, let's move on to the next question because you guys, we have so many that we haven't gotten through yet, and I want to make sure we get as many of these questions as we can in. Okay, so this next question is, in your experience, what are the invisible rites of passage men seem to know about that women only learn after missing the window? What are the invisible rites of passage men seem to know about that women only learn after missing the window? Wow, that is a juicy question. Beth, what do you think? I'm going to direct this one to you.
I don't know. I'm struggling to be honest because I was the only woman in the room for so long. I mean, I noticed for sure, but I never really thought about it because I was just like, I'm gonna go do my thing and power on and not worry about what these men are doing around me because I have a vision of what I want to do and how I'm gonna be successful. And I think there's always a seat at the table if you make the seat for yourself.
Mm.
Um, I honestly don't know what rites of passage I maybe missed, to be honest, but I'm sure maybe Antoinette or Diana have more input here. This is a tricky one for me personally.
Can I
Yeah, yeah, go ahead, Diana, please.
asking for a raise?
Oh, okay, yeah, that's a good one. Yeah.
Yep,
Definitely.
I've realized that through my whole entire work life. Men always seem to know when to ask for a raise. And when I was early on in my career, there was a guy, well, he put himself off as a woman. I forget what his name was. No, no, sorry, he was a man. He went by a man's name, James. I forget what his last name was, but he was really a woman. So online, he was this man, and someone discovered he was really a woman. The reason he was going by a man's name was because he got paid more. We were all freelancers. And when that came out, huge, like explosion in the wild, like
Yeah.
someone dropped a nuclear detonator or something. People, but he and she said right up front, it's because when I put myself in on those Upwork kind of places, it was before Upwork, it was another place that where you could go do freelance writing. She said, when I worked under a man's name, I could charge double or triple.
Wow, that's crazy. But I believe it for sure. I've heard
Mm,
other stories in different ways, like where as a woman it's really hard to get investment.
hmm
So
Mm.
someone I know changed their name to see if they would get better investments for their business.
hmm
And sadly, it does work.
Yeah. And
Yeah,
the statistic that only 5% of women even ask for financing their business.
yeah.
Like that is crazy. Wow, this is such a good question. Well, I want to call out Beth. What was interesting about your answer was that you mentioned that you just focused on what you could do and what you wanted to do, and I think that's really good advice, is just like knowing your strengths and your lane of what you trusting your intuition and focusing on your path and where you want to go and just being laser focused on that. I think is also really, important skill to learn. But, to Diana's point, there is the reality that, systemically, men ask for raises more frequently and are more comfortable with than women. So my question for you, I have a follow-up question to that is, when should a woman be asking for a raise? How does she know that it's time for her to ask for a raise?
I think it's when you feel like you've taken on more, um, so you've taken on more ownership for sure, right? Then you definitely deserve a raise because I think that happens a lot as a woman. They're like, oh, you can handle it, and you just keep taking it on, but they're not compensating you. Or if you start leading and taking charge or like adding innovation or new initiatives that can help the business grow, or maybe you were hired for like a junior role, but like your skill set increases because you've been like studying more or whatever, you can build a case where you're investing in yourself, you're getting educated or whatever it might be, where you deserve that raise.
Mm.
So I think it's always smart to go to the table with your why and like the things you're adding to the business. And I mean, I'm always for that as long as you're prepared and you have a good cause of why you think you deserve a raise. Just putting a number is not really as powerful, right? So that's my take on it as a business owner, but I don't
Yes, I agree with that. Is being able to like the bigger picture of like what am I creating for the business and how
know.
can I make a case that shows that I have helped the business achieve XYZ and really thinking bigger than like, the actual dollar amount, but what is the value that I have added? And not being like I think as women sometimes we downplay that. We don't recognize it and see that what we're doing is adding so much more value. And so like trusting that and being confident in it and being confident in what you've done that's added value.
Yeah.
Hmm, awesome. Okay. All right. Okay, our next question is for Diana. How
Uh-oh.
do you handle the bias that assumes moms are less committed?
Oh, that's a good one. Because when I first started, so I started my business in 1998. I actually didn't let anyone know I was a that back then it was called work at home mom. I didn't let anyone know. I hid it. I worked part-time. I didn't want my son in a corporate kind of daycare, but he went to family daycare in the beginning, like 10 hours a week, then to 15. So that's when I worked. No one knew that I was doing this. If I had a meeting to go to, I would go when he was in daycare. So the gig was up when I was working with a corporate client, and he came in when he was two and slammed his potty chair on the floor of my office. And I was on the phone and he said, "Mom, I did a poop." And I was mortified. And the client I was talking to, she laughed and she said, "My daughter is going through that too. She's two." And we became instant friends. And so while I still minimized it, I stopped trying to hide it. And then once Zoom came in and we had the pandemic, things changed a lot. So now now I don't have to hide it because he's not here anymore. But uh, I think just to address the question of bias, I think it's, you know, getting your work done on time, following up on doing what you say you're going to do. I don't think you have to show that your child doesn't mean anything to you or, my work is my priority. But showing you can do both at the same time and being competent at both. And I think also expressing the joy in being a mom. Moms are awesome.
Yes. Mm, so well said. I love that. Being competent, following up, doing what you say you're going to do, showing people through your actions that you can do both is how that bias will shift. Beth, Antoinette, do you have anything you want to add?
I think moms are more committed than anybody. Sorry.
Yes, yes, because we want to make it work.
We need to make it work, and we are like the best at making things work because it's just like you get up, you have your process of how you get through the day, and you take that skill set as a mom and apply it to your workplace. I think moms are more productive than anybody in most cases.
I agree. So great at multitasking and
Yes.
wearing all the hats.
Handling ups and downs.
Yeah, working nights and weekends. That's what I used to do.
Mm,
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
totally. Yeah. Oh, I love it. This is amazing. Okay. Next question. And first I got to give a shout out. You guys are asking amazing questions. This is
They
so
are. I know. I'm
fun.
so
Like,
sweating.
Oh my gosh, this is so great. I could just do this all day, you guys. Okay. What is your playbook for being heard in a room where your ideas land better once repeated by a man? Oh, I think you guys all have an answer for this one, but Antoinette, I'm going to ask it to you first, and then Diana and Beth, you can chime in.
So, I have been, because I work in a male dominated field, right? A lot of times I am the only woman, the only person of color in the room. And, in a lot of roles I've been in, everyone who reports to me is a man, and everyone who reports to the same person I report to is also a man. So, I have two stories about that. So one time, I was working for an agency and they're relatively progressive. And so I made a comment and then a male coworker chimed in afterward and everybody immediately turned and started staring at him. And he says, What? And everybody says, she just said that. She just said that. And so sometimes it's great to have allies who are listening to you and will call out the bad behavior of male coworkers who just take what you said and basically repeat it in a more authoritative tone. Um, so that helps. Having allies helps. Another thing is, be an ally for yourself. And if you say something and someone else, male, female, maybe it's a person who has more authority, says that, then you can chime in and say, thanks for backing me up. I agree. And you add more detail so that if you feel like it depends on what you're saying. If you're like, hey, I got to go to the bathroom, and they say, I got to go to the bathroom too, then you say, okay, let's go together. So sometimes it's the bandwagon thing. Okay, let's do this thing together. If you're trying to be authoritative and say, hey, this is direction I think we should go, and it seems like people weren't paying attention, but a male coworker says, hey, this is direction I think we should go, then you say, great, why don't you follow along with me and we can do this together? So, it doesn't have to be a conflict. It can be an opportunity where you show like shared leadership, shared vision. You take it as a team building opportunity. Or like I said, if somebody's acting in bad faith, then just call them out and be like, hey, I just said that.
That is such a beautiful way to approach it as a collaborative, team building situation. But also with clarity to be able to know the difference. It's important to know the difference when it's someone that is acting in bad faith and making sure you are vouching for yourself in those moments is really cool. Okay, so I have a follow-up question before I ask. I definitely want Diana and Beth to chime in on this because this is a big question. You mentioned about allies. What is your advice for finding a good ally?
You know, I will say I've been lucky in the sense that I have had some allies come from the strangest places and the most unexpected people have been incredibly supportive of me at times when like I didn't even deserve it. Like I was very new and I was making a ton of mistakes and and there is my manager and he's taking up for me and he's sticking up for me and he's helping me grow and he's encouraging me and he's like, here's how you make more money and here's what you need to do. And so people can be supportive of you individually. And I think when you find those individuals, because you'll encounter them, you just have to be looking for them. But when you find those individuals, make sure you communicate your needs to them. It's super
Mhm.
important because here's someone who wants to support you, but you need to tell them how they can support you. If it's, you need to find someone that's okay to be vulnerable with because you're going to have to be very vulnerable to get them to support you. And then don't be afraid to let them fight your battles sometimes. You know, don't be afraid to let them speak up for you when you need to be spoken up for. And if you need them to do that, communicate that. And so that's my thing. But man, I've had some people I thought I would never get along with take up for me and defend me and support me and help me grow in really unexpected ways.
Same. I've had the same experience, and it's always delightfully surprising and amazing.
Yeah.
Okay, Beth and Diana, that was amazing, Antoinette. Beth, Diana, what's your thoughts on this question about men where your lands land better, your ideas land better once repeated by a man. What is your experience? What's your recommendations?
Antoinette said it so well. I agree with everything she said. I think the only other thing to add is like, I think sometimes we don't always lead with confidence when we say things.
Mm,
Just making sure like you feel very strong and stand up and like feel confident. And that can even be body language, right? Like if you're feeling a little bit like, I'm not sure, like just pump your shoulders up and be like, I got this, you know? Because it can make a difference, just your body language when you say something. But I mean, she said it beautifully. I couldn't agree more with everything she said.
bravo. Anything you want to add, Diana?
I would only add that, it's not always a man who says it. It could be a
That is
woman.
true.
I mean, I've
So
had that happen.
true.
A man actually stood up and said, she just said that. And then yeah, so it's not always the man.
That's so true. And I think Antoinette's feedback on how to address that is so applicable regardless. It's such wise, wonderful advice. So very cool. All right, you guys. Our next question is, what is one piece of advice you would give to yourself 5 years ago? Diana, this one's for you, my friend.
Uh, To not be afraid to follow my heart.
Mm.
Yeah, well, you know this, I think you know the story about my blog, my Keep It Made USA blog. I was terrified to start it. I don't know why, but I was. So but I did it. But yeah, don't be afraid to follow your heart.
I love that too. Hello Moxie wouldn't be here if I didn't follow my heart. So I completely believe in that, and it's very powerful. Awesome. Anything else you guys would add, Beth, Antoinette?
Yeah, I'll add. My advice to myself would be to not stay silent or minimize myself. I feel like in the past, I often made myself small to fit in the room. And that's not needed. You can still be bold and strong and a woman at any table and just be yourself. You don't have to hide it. I think in the past I would hide it to fit in.
That's
So,
beautiful.
yeah.
Love it. All right. Next question. Okay, this is a good one too. You guys, these are some zingers. What's a habit or belief you swear by that most leadership books would never recommend? This one I will direct to Beth.
Ooh, I think being vulnerable is like a superpower when you're a leader, and I don't think it's talked about much. I know some leadership books talk about it, but I think empathy and vulnerability are like really good things to empower and use when you are a leader because people you can connect with people in different ways and not feel I know it can sometimes people will be like, "Oh, you're too soft," but it's actually strength and courage to
Yes.
go there and show that part of yourself without going too far where it becomes like, "Oh, you made it so personal." You know, like there is a balance for sure.
There is a balance. I agree with that completely. How do you balance that? What's your advice for leaning into your vulnerability, but not oversharing or um, making it too personal?
Yeah, I mean, I've definitely gone too far in the past. So I think when I went too far, it became very personal and less about the workplace and the thing at work. It became like a personal mission or a personal thing from my past that like somewhat triggered maybe something from my past.
Mm.
So like now I'm just more cautious of those things that affect me and make me share too much. There's a right place and time to share those things, like in therapy, for example. You shouldn't be sharing them with your peers and your workers. Not that I did that exactly, but I think sometimes when you start to feel very comfortable and show that you're vulnerable and you have empathy, that people like want to offload it on you, right? So like this happens to me quite a bit because I do show this, and that's where I'll have to say sometimes like that sounds very personal and I appreciate you sharing it. maybe find a friend, or let's find you a support group or something where you can share those thoughts, because I can't support you in the way you need support
Mm.
with that issue in the workplace. Because this actually has happened multiple times to me. People love sharing things with me, which is beautiful, but sometimes you shouldn't own that space, right? And get them the help they need, because they usually really do need real support. And, you can say, I'm not a therapist or psychologist or whatever, however you want to handle it, without pushing them off where they feel stranded, like kind of guiding them and pushing them in a positive way to get the help they need. Um,
Mm.
that's my experience. I don't know if that helps at all.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's really good advice. Diana, Antoinette, do you guys have anything you want to add?
No, I think she said it great. I love that because we are first and foremost like human beings.
Hmm.
Like before we come to work, right? We wake up in the morning as just a person. And I love that you're like, well, first, it's okay to relate to people in the professional environment as a person.
Yeah,
And I think it
it's
gets lost.
important. We lose track of that sometimes. Yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, it just kind of harks back to what you were sharing earlier, Beth, about boundaries. Like
Hmm.
you vulnerably shared with your team, like this is, you were talking about boundaries, but then you were also sharing about when you were micromanaging and a past experience that you had, and you with vulnerability led with, well, this was a bad experience I had in the past that I got burned by. That's a very vulnerable,
Yes,
but it's not super personal. It's just like a real thing that humanizes you, so people can see the
exactly.
human side rather than just this person that's like making me do stuff.
Yeah.
So. That's beautiful. Okay, very cool. Well, thank you, you guys. Anything you want to add there, Diana?
No,
All right, cool. We are going to move on. Solo marketer within an organization that is constantly distracted and there is a lack of support. How do you overcome hurdles where you're not being heard, but still held accountable? I will direct this one to, let's see, whose turn is it? Eeny, meeny, miny. It's uh it's Antoinette. Antoinette, you're next.
Oh,
You're up.
okay. Um, so I can talk about this a little bit, but I am a technologist. I'm not really a marketer. Um, but it is really difficult to have accountability on the one hand without authority on the other. So they ideally go together. You are accountable, or I like to use the term responsible, um, because you have been given a certain level of authority, meaning you are given this authority and then you're held accountable for using the authority the right way. But what I kind of hear is that there's the organization is constantly just going in different places. There's not much support, and there's constant things thrown in, but you're still accountable for being successful. And depending on the size of, so in a large organization, you just say, I need more resources. You've got this budgeted at 500,000. It's going to take 8. And if you don't give me 8, you're not going to get it. Okay. That works for a larger organization because they say, oh, well, according to this is a good investment. We'll give you the extra 3 you're asking for. In a smaller organization, that won't work. But you still have to set expectations. You have to look at, hey, this is what's going on, folks. If you want this outcome, I'm going to give you some professional advice and put you on game here. If you want this outcome, this is what it's going to take to get there.
Yeah.
And you make sure you push that out and you communicate that constantly. Here is what I hear you saying, boss, manager, owner, client, whatever, as the outcome that you want. Here is what I'm telling you will take to get there. And then if you want to give me less, or if you want to go in 10 different directions, then we're going to talk about what kind of outcomes are reasonable for the investment that they're willing to make. So it's a hard conversation to have. And I think the smaller the organization, the smaller the project, the harder that conversation is to have. But sometimes you just have to bite the bullet and do it.
Yeah, that approach really shows leadership. You're showing your leadership team that you're a leader and that you have your eye on it and you're managing it rather than just, following along and just letting it happen. Really great advice, Antoinette. Diane, I'd love to know your perspective on this as our
Yeah.
marketer on the team
I'm
here.
a marketer. Uh, well, I can give you two perspectives. There's my own perspective of, you know, at least this is how it seems like, just you go online, whatever. I'm only on LinkedIn, but others, social media and all this marketing is seen as super easy now because anyone can do it. You can take photos with your iPhone, you can do your video. I watched a guy once make a video from a coffee shop and, it was all professionally done. I'm like, oh my God, I can't even talk into a camera, please. Like, don't make me use a camera or a video or a microphone or what, like, I'm a writer. So, but so there is this general idea of marketing is super easy, right? And you can reach billions of people on social media. Just post something. So I think, and I've seen marketers on LinkedIn who are doing everything. And I'm like, why are you doing all of that? You don't need to do all of that. Focus on your strength, whatever your strength is. So, you know, in turn, so that's just from my perspective, but also what I've done, because I heard the word distraction, is you have to, it's super hard, but you have to start to work to minimize distraction. How, when I'm not quite sure what the distraction is, but for me, it's um, online. What's Nicole doing today? What's this person doing? Oh, look, it's like someone said, oh, look, there goes a chicken, and you run after it. Lots of chickens running by. You have to minimize things. And then, as Antoinette said, you have to sit down. And with clients even, I can't do that. Your budget is X. If you want more, the fee goes up. Oh, then all of a sudden, whatever it was they wanted doesn't become as important.
And they get clarity on what really is important.
Right. And also the other thing that I do too, and this was something that I have found very helpful, is I track everything. So all the marketing that we do is tracked and it's tied to conversions or RFQs or whatever. So clients can see what they're getting. So things are much calmer now because I can show the effect of the work I do.
Mm, such great advice. I love it. Being able to show the impact and thinking about that bigger picture and showing leadership to let your leadership team know when something is going to require more resources. It shows that you're thinking about the bigger picture. And I think that's a really important leadership skill anytime you're on any project you're working on. If you're thinking bigger than just your role in your project of how this impacts everything is important. Great, great feedback, you guys. Great advice. Okay. We are going to move on to the next question. This is a juicy one. They're all juicy. How do you negotiate your salary and improved work contract without your boss labeling you as spoiled, especially as a young woman in a business industry? Oh,
Wow.
this is a great question. Beth, I'm going to turn it to you, my friend.
Yeah. So I would say we talked about it a little bit before. When you work on a regular basis, I think as women, we don't always communicate the value we're adding, right? So constantly being clear about what we're doing and what we're contributing is important. And then when you're ready to ask for that salary increase, do research on what the, low, mid, high range of what your role is, right? And clearly explain and tell them that you deserve the raise because this is the norm if you're not in the norm, first off, because sometimes that does happen. And then just say, I'm doing these additional things and I'm willing to take on X, Y, and Z to get that additional raise. So it really shows that sense of leadership, that you're taking ownership and that you deserve it. And it's kind of sad in some situations that you need to build that case, but it just shows that you're the bigger person and that you're adding the value to the business and like growing yourself as a person to show what you're contributing to the business.
Mm.
That's what I would suggest. But I'm sure Antoinette and um, Diana have other suggestions based on their experiences.
Well, that was a really great response. And you have so much experience in this area. So very, very, very great advice from Beth, who has to, she's a leader of a large organization, has to make these decisions all the time. So Antoinette
Yeah.
and Diane, do you guys have any other thoughts?
No, I second everything Beth said. It's great advice. One, do your research.
Mhm.
Like, I mean, so let's say I might say, you know what, I want to make $1 million a year. Well, it's not typical to pay someone that does the work I do $1 million a year. I mean, some software engineers do get paid $1 million a year, but not all of them. So do your research. If you're not being paid fairly, then come in and say, hey, here's low, medium, high. Here's why I'm high. And I really like that you brought that out of sometimes have the numbers to back you up.
Mm,
Yeah, that's a good advice. Yeah. Yeah.
really good advice. Oh, you guys. My gosh, this has been an amazing conversation. We still have a few questions that we don't have time to answer, but we are going to send you a follow-up email with answers to those questions. So if you send any question in, please, we will follow up with you. Just want to be mindful of time since we are coming up on the hour. My gosh, this was fast and furious. So just thank you to our mentors for all of your feedback today. I'd love to hear from anyone listening. What stood out to you? Let us know in the chat. What are some of the things that really are you're taking away from our session today that you're really excited to try and implement? Please share. I'd love to hear, and we can shout it out here. What are you excited about? What did you learn? What surprised you? What was insightful to you? And also, I just want to make a special invitation for everyone who has joined today. We are actually launching a new 15-day challenge at Hello Moxie that's going to be launching on November 1st. So as a special gift to you, we want to invite you to this exclusive it's our gift to you to this exclusive free day challenge. It's not a free day challenge, it's a free 15-day challenge. So we're going to send you an email after the event today where you'll get information on how you can join that. And the challenge is all about our Moxie method, which is a framework for building confidence and executive presence and speaking up and using your voice. And everyone who joins will be able to connect with other people as well. That you'll be part of our community to be able to go through this course together. So we're excited to share that with you. Stay tuned on that. And we're so grateful you could join us. We're actually going to be doing these regularly. So our next one will be in the first quarter of next year. And so we will keep you posted and let you know so you can come prepared with more questions. And we're very, very excited about the opportunity to continue to help you guys rise. And thank you. And those are my final and parting words. And yes, and then we have the last and final, and I'm just rambling at this point, you guys. Our last and final thing is we have a cohort next month in November that we have open for enrollment until October 28th. So if you're looking for a mentor, if you want one-on-one support, we would love to have you join our cohort. And you can learn more. Our moderator, Joe, will drop the link in the chat. So thank you again, you guys, for joining. It's been such a pleasure, and we look forward to seeing you next time.